McBath is not there because she can tell us anything about what happened on Horn Island. She wasn't there. She's not a forensic pathologist. She didn't interview any of the witnesses. She brings nothing to this case in the sense that she didn't possess the phone. She doesn't know Nolan's cause of death, but she supplies something that no one else can, and that is the emotional authority that these race hustlers need to sway the public opinion and ultimately impact the election. The individuals that we're going to be talking about are individuals that make up the iron triangle, right? So the iron triangle is your Black pulpit preacher, your Black civil rights worker, and your Black politician. And these three work together in cahoots with one another to achieve one objective and one objective only, and that is to ensure, by hook or by crook, that the Black community is beholden to the Democrat Party, not because the policies have proven to improve the conditions of Black America at all, but only so that they can retain power. And they do this in a myriad of ways. And this case is a textbook example of the iron triangle at work. So let me name them. The pulpit pimp here, that's the star of the show of the iron triangle. We'll put him at the top. We'll put Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton is an old school, former chubby mob rat, former snitch from my hometown of New York City, and his reputation precedes him. And this is not me slandering the man. This is me actually going down the list of the race hoaxes that make up his resume. So Tawana Brawley is what gave him his claim to fame, and your audience can go and research all about that fake race hoax that divided our city and completely set back race relations at least 20 years. Then you have a civil rights worker. Now, Ben Crump, even though he is an attorney, he fits into the civil rights apparatus of this triangle. So you've got Al Sharpton and Ben Crump. And then you've got the Black politician. I knew we were dealing with the iron triangle the moment that press conference display when Al Sharpton called up Lucy McBath.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and also thank you to Attorney Crump for being the armor bearers for this family, the Nolan's family. It's a really, really sad occasion that we're here again. I was just saying to my staff on the way in, it's like this brings back so many vivid memories for me and my own family, having lost Jordan to unnecessary gun violence in November 2012, Black Friday, simply because he was Black and playing loud music in his car. And so here we are again today, here for the loss of another Black young man in our community. And we find ourselves asking the same questions. How did it happen? Why did it happen? And this family stands here demanding answers. This family deserves answers. I myself sought the same justice for my son, Jordan, that they're seeking for theirs, and they deserve answers, and they deserve justice. Justice that should not be denied this family, or should ever be denied to any of our children or our lost loved ones. As a member of the Congressional Black Caucus, I'm the second vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. We are demanding a full federal investigation. Kash Patel, we're demanding a full federal investigation as to what has actually happened to Nolan Wells. We want to make sure that every stone is unturned because his life matters. All of our children's and our families' lives matter. And we must fight back. We must stand up, and we must demand accountability for this family's loss. We cannot turn a blind eye to what continues to happen again and again and again. That's the reason why I ran for Congress, to make sure that we continue to put a face on what's happening to our families and our communities every single day.
Translation, that's the reason why she became a social justice warrior, social justice activist.
We must say Nolan's name.
Amen.
Say his name. Lift his name. And as the national Black journalists of this country, you have the ability to be able to lift this story and not let it die. We see over and over again these kinds of tragedies in our communities that continue to happen. And they make it to CNN. They make it to MSN Now. They make it to our local news for maybe 30 days, if that. And then the stories are gone. And the carnage is left with the families and the communities that have lost someone that they love. So I thank the National Black Journalists. Thank you for lifting this family story. Do not let it die. Continue to say his name. Continue to tell his story, because they deserve justice, and it matters. It mattered for me. It mattered for Trayvon. It mattered for Eric Brown. It matters for all of our loved ones that we have lost.
This is very, very important. Do you mind if I go ahead and give the audience a rundown of who Lucy is?
I don't mind at all. You have the full floor. One thing about you is you are a great teacher. God has given you great gifts. And so you just go ahead and let us know whatever you have on your heart. We're all ears. Got you.
All right. Lucy McBath. She is a sitting Congresswoman.
Hold up 1 second. Sorry to cut you off there. Just so the audience is aware. Lucy is the lady I showed you at the beginning of the show. Maybe some of you are just now hopping in, but Lucy is the lady who I talked to you about last week. At the time, I thought maybe she was Ben Crump's a new lawyer on the team or something. I didn't know who this lady was. And then I get a text from April and she's telling me, actually, there's more to Lucy. So that's who we're talking about here.
Right. So she was the fair-skinned woman that Al Sharpton brought up to the podium. And Lucy's from my stage. Lucy McBath is a sitting Congresswoman from Georgia's 6th District. That's right here in Metro Atlanta. And the reason why she's so integral to this story is because she had a son by the name of Jordan Davis, and he was gunned down and shot to death. And his death is foundational to her whole political identity. So, for example, if you go to her congressional website, she readily admits that Jordan's murder, and we'll talk a little bit about the details surrounding his murder, but his murder is what propelled her into this whole gun control advocacy and ultimately pushed her to run for Congress. Lucy McBath has successfully transformed a legitimate, do hear me clearly, this is a legitimate personal tragedy, but she's turned it into the central component of who she is politically, and that is undeniable. All you have to do, back in 2018, she wrote that Jordan's murder is what transformed her into the activist and eventually inspired her congressional run. She has spoken extensively about her son Jordan's death, and she always positions her narrative alongside other Black mothers whose children have died in prominent cases. So, to be clear, what happened to her son, the devil is in the details, is legit. But when I explain it to you, you will understand why she was at that press conference. Now, I'm going to give y'all, I'm going to be quick and brief. Back in 2012, her son was 17 years old, Jordan Davis. He is sitting with his friends in an SUV down in Jacksonville, Florida, at a gas station. A white guy, his name was Michael Dunn. He's 45-year-old white dude, parks beside him. They are playing really, really loud music. White guy objects to the loud rap music coming from the car. They get into a verbal altercation. Confrontation ensues. The white guy, Dunn, retrieves a handgun and he fires 10 shots at the SUV and kills Jordan. It is very sad. It is very tragic. There was no weapon in these teenagers' vehicle. Now, there was no mystery about whether another human killed Jordan. I just told you there was a shooter. We know his name. There was a firearm. We know that. There were eyewitnesses, bullet trajectories. You have a whole identifiable victim and a defendant. A criminal prosecution happened. Dunn claims, the white guy, self-defense. The prosecutors argue that, listen, this man became so enraged when Jordan challenged him and refused to comply with the white guy's demand concerning the music. You're not going to get in. I'm going to be fair. I'm like, listen, okay, this whole scenario could have been handled different. Granted, loud music is a nuisance, but you can't get so overcome with rage that you decide you're going to pull out a gun and start shooting people. And so there was a trial and a retrial, and the prosecution categorized Dunn as someone who became overly angry over being disrespected by this 17-year-old kid that he shot to kill him. Dunn gets convicted of first-degree murder. His conviction is then affirmed on appeal. So here's what we can accurately say about what happened to Lucy McBath's son. First-degree murder was the conviction. Okay, it was not some judicial finding that discovered that he was shot because he was Black, but an argument can be made that this individual held some bias or prejudicial or racist views, so much so that he became enraged and he shoots the boy, killing an unarmed teenager. I will never take that away from Lucy McBath. Jordan Davis was murdered. Nolan Wells died. We're still trying to determine how Nolan died. Those sentences, they're not interchangeable. So why did they bring Lucy McBath onto that stage? I told you, this is how the Iron Triangle works. Al Sharpton is your Black preacher and an activist. He serves double duty. Ben Crump, Black civil rights legal apparatus representative. Then you got Lucy McBath. She's your Black politician. They needed to bring the trifecta together. McBath is not there because she can tell us anything about what happened on Horn Island. She wasn't there. She's not a forensic pathologist. She didn't interview any of the witnesses. She brings nothing to this case in the sense that she didn't possess the phone. She doesn't know Nolan's cause of death, but she supplies something that no one else can, and that is the emotional authority that these race hustlers need to sway the public opinion and ultimately impact the election. I need the audience to understand that two things can be true at the same time. You can lose your son to senseless violence, and we can empathize with you about that. But when we see you conflating categories and you start using your son's death as a form of emotional manipulation to conflate two things that are so vastly different, and we don't see you do it in other circumstances. She talked about, this keeps happening to young men all over the country. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because every weekend when Black men are gunned down in Chicago, Lucy McBath is not called to give an emotionally stirring speech to stir communities up to stopping the violence. That does not happen. So why is she here now? Notice how she said, so here we are again today. That phrase is so important. Here we are again. And I'm like, again, where? Jordan was shot 10 times by an identifiable man. We know him. His name was Michael Dunn. He was arrested. Michael Dunn was prosecuted. Right. Michael Dunn was convicted of first-degree murder. Michael Dunn is serving a life sentence. So what factual category has currently been established in Nolan's case that makes this, here we go again. There isn't one. And she can't simply say, young Black men are dying and we need to be concerned because they're dying every single day in Chicago and in other cities all over this country. Like I said, she's nowhere to be found, but she found her way to this press conference. And so let me explain what Lucy McBath has rhetorically accomplished here.
Wow.
This is called emotional transfer. You don't necessarily need the two cases to factually be analogous. You don't need that. All you need is for the audience to feel. Y'all know, listen, I am an authentically Black woman. Y'all know we are a feeling people, okay? We will feel it down in our bones, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent.
She's women in general, I'm telling you.
Right. This is the feels. And so with this feeling, the ingredients become Black teenage son, grieving Black mother, white people connected to the circumstances, Southern state, civil rights leaders say his name, and now the audience, your mind starts filling in everything that hasn't even been established. That is why Lucy McBath's statement, here we go again, it's doing so much of the work. It's doing so much of the heavy lifting because it places Nolan into a very already familiar moral story. Her son, Jordan Davis. Then she gets to add in Trayvon Martin, racial violence, grieving Black mother, white perpetrator. And that leads you to believe, you know what? America hasn't changed. In fact, we don't have a perpetrator in Nolan's case. We don't even have a homicide. We have yet no evidence of a racial motivation. So the whole emotional analogy, it shows up before the evidentiary analogy exists. And that is the manipulation that she was sent there to do. Say his name, bringing in the politics. And notice how she's the second vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. That matters. She wants to get the feds involved as if the FBI is not already involved. But see, as second vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, she can use this as, y'all, we got to take the House back in November. Because if we do, and Hakeem Jeffries becomes the majority leader, we'll get him in there, and they're going to lead black people to think that Hakeem Jeffries can actually do something in this case when there has been no crime committed or one established as of now.
Right.
So it's smoke and mirrors. These people are just lying.
I'm telling you. And the thing is I don't know if you caught it in the presser. I'm sure you did. Al Sharpton said something about that Black people's votes are in jeopardy or something.
Yes,
their voting rights.
Voting rights, and he plugged in his little funky march on Washington that's supposed to take place August the 28th for voting rights, when not near one Black person in this live chat went to vote in their state's primary and was turned away.
I'm telling you. Exactly.
That was code for the Congressional Black Caucus and all these Black districts. We are losing power and we can't have that. So we want y'all to come in the hot DC summer and march to ensure that we keep our power.
And that's really what this is about. This is about power, control, money, and, the ability to control the narrative, of course.
Right. Nolan has been left this story. He was a real person and his life absolutely mattered. But what you have to understand, her bringing in and doing this at the National Association of Black Journalists, invoking and encouraging them to keep this story alive, y'all need to understand that phraseology is not politically neutral. It's not. Saying his name, everybody at this point now knows that that's become culturally associated with all of these campaigns surrounding Black victims of alleged racial injustice and police or vigilante violence. So rhetorically, Nolan is just, he's been lumped into an existing category of racial victimhood before the manner of his death has even been publicly determined. Isn't that Weasley how they did that?
I mean, it is.
It's so Weasley.
It is.
And Lucy is politically valuable on that stage because she carries a story that the audience already understands. You don't have to prove that Nolan was murdered. You don't have to prove racial motive. Just put Lucy McBath behind that microphone. Let her talk about her murdered black son. And then say, you know, here we go again. You know, and say his name. And now you've emotionally collapsed two completely different cases into the same racial narrative. And people to be like, see, they just keep doing this to us. And you're like, doing what to us? Who's they?